Well, former President Donald Trump is expected to return to Washington, D.C. this week. He is delivering the keynote at the America First Policy Institute conference. It's the first time the former president's been back in the Capitol since he left office in January of 2021.
Well, over at CNN, where, of course, every day is January 6th, John, Jim Acosta described Trump's visit as returning to the scene of the crime.
Why invite Trump back to Washington after he tried to pull off a coup on January 6th?
Well, he's still the leader of the America First movement. He's the biggest name. He's the visionary behind many of the policies that got him elected to the White House. And when you look at what's going on in America right now, so many people are clamoring for that kind of leadership, that policy leadership back.
That guest being accosted by Jim Acosta is the guy who's here with us right now. He's a former special assistant to President Trump, Marc. Always great to talk to you, Marc.
Great to talk to you.
I loved your response because, you know, Jim Acosta obviously threw the term in coup because either he can't help himself or he was trying to get a rise out of you. And you just, you know, skin right across like a rock skipping across the water. I'm just going to move on and tell Jim Acosta exactly why Donald Trump is coming to Washington, D.C. to speak. And it has nothing to do with January 6th.
No, nothing, and that's the key. I mean, I think this is where many in the mainstream media don't get it, is that we are tired as American people of having you tell us who we get to vote for, or you making the decision as the D.C. elite, the swamp, the New York media class to tell us what policies we will or will not support. And I think that's why Donald Trump got elected in 2016, because so many people saw him as being the one who was going to fight for the forgotten man and woman, fight for their jobs, fight for America's way of life. And now, look where we are. High gas prices, out of control crime plaguing our cities, parents being told they have no say in what their kids will be taught at school. And once again, the American people are saying enough. And that's why you see that when we lay out this America First agenda, which you'll hear the president give voice to, what you'll see over the course of these 2 days at this summit, is that this is what the American people want, and that's what they're going to vote for.
Well, you know, clearly on CNN, you were able to articulate that very well, despite Acosta coming after you there. But speaking of Trump, he's talking tomorrow, but there's a lot of talk about when he will announce, before or after the midterms. What do you think would be the best timing for him? Obviously, we know it triggers campaign finance laws, but what do you think the strategy should be for Trump?
Well, and of course, in my role at AFPI, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit. But in my experience and my personal opinion, you know, there are pluses and minuses to whether he would announce prior to or after the midterms. I think the one thing we have to make sure, though, regardless of that timing, is that we focus on the results that have been produced by the failures of the left. And as long as we stay focused on their failures, the results they've achieved, and we offer the positive policy prescriptions, whether the former president has announced prior to the election or after the election, doesn't really matter. He's going to be the voice of the solutions moving forward, and let Congress get back in control. They can start enacting it, and then we'll work out 2024 when the time comes.
We're just showing some folks. That was a live look inside the America First Policy Institute conference happening right now. And of course, Donald Trump will be the keynote speaker later this week. But let's talk a little bit more, expand out, and talk about the January 6th committee and what we saw recently. Liz Cheney was on CNN this weekend, and she told Jake Tapper that she'd do almost anything to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. Here she is.
Hard. No matter what happens on August 16th, I'm going to wake up on August 17th and continue to fight hard to ensure Donald Trump is never anywhere close to the Oval Office ever again.
So she brushed off the questions about her own primary challenge. She's not doing very well on that right now, and talked about Donald Trump. And then she was also asked if she would run for president in 2024. Here's her response.
At this point, I have not made a decision about 2024.
Liz Cheney running for president. It's interesting, Marc. We also saw her get that standing ovation at the Reagan Library not too long ago. So who are the people not named Cheney who thinks Liz Cheney has a chance to become president?
Well, you know, I mean, I probably not a very big audience, but, you know, that time will tell. I mean, here's the thing, though, to my earlier point, this is the perfect example of it. Guess what, Congresswoman Cheney? Not your job to tell the American people who or who will not be president. they get to vote on that. And whether you agree with it or not, well, that's up to you. You've got one vote. But this will be decided by the American people. And the one thing we know is that they want these policies back. They want cheap gas. They want growing paychecks. These are the kinds of things that we will be fighting for. And whoever picks up that mantle, whoever wins that mantle through that process in 2024, those are the policies that they're going to support. Those are the policies they're going to win. If you don't support it, then I have a feeling you'll just be another person who is failed in their dream for glory in the White House.
Well, she's obviously hurt herself and her chances in Wyoming there, but you have some Democrats, Marc, saying Liz Cheney should actually be the face of the Republican Party. Let's play a soundbite here for you.
Her voice is absolutely needed, and I think she's one of, unfortunately, a very small number of people who need to be the face of the Republican Party in the future.
Her voice is needed. What do you think that would go over as at your conference today and tomorrow with that type of talk?
Well, the one thing I can tell you is that we are a big tent, and we don't. Anyone who supports American First policies has a place here, even if you don't necessarily support everything. But as long as you're supporting America first, then then you've got our support. But I don't think that's something that that she's going to be able to support. She's not going to be the kind of America first leader that we need. And if she wants to change her mind on that, change her tune, then we'd be happy to sit down with her and talk policy all day with her.
Yeah, it's interesting that Congresswoman Luria is one of the members of the committee. And, despite basically opposing everything that Liz Cheney stood for before she was on the committee, Democrats really do love telling Republicans what the Republican Party should look like, don't they, Marc?
They do, and they also like to define what our policy is for us, and that's because they don't have an agenda to run on their own. They also don't have any results to run on, and so they're going to be forced to run a campaign this fall based on grievance, based on anger, and based on fear-mongering. Well, the American people know. They know what's going on today isn't working. They remember a few years ago when it was, and now we just have to connect the dots and get back to it.
Marc Lauder, great to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. I want to tell you about the Patriot Gold Group. But first, let me tell you that the S&P has already lost $8.2 trillion in 2022. Did you know that? Peak inflation is not even hit despite the Fed rate hikes on groceries, on gas. You know it as well as I do. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are warning of another 20% drop. Inflation is winning in a knockout right now. The Fed is going to raise rates again at the end of July. Meanwhile, Goldman, Wells Fargo, and Bloomberg are all forecasting gold to surpass all-time highs. If you want to invest in gold, call 888-936-2373 now. Call the Patriot Gold Group today and ask about their no-fee-for-life IRA. Sounds like a good deal, don't it? Here's the number, 888-936-2373. 888-936-2373 for the Patriot Gold Group.